Good morning, and welcome to our fourth WTH webinar training session. We're glad to see so many of you joining us, some as repeat visitors. My name is Leslie, and I'll be moderating today. This is the fourth of a series of 5 webinars. If you navigate to our website, WTHGIS.com, and click on the banner, it will take you to our webinar menu page, where you can register for or explore other topics of discussion in more detail. We have a total of 2 sessions available that will cover the Parcel Split Wizard and thinkgis.com. Our topic for today's session is the Parcel Split Wizard, where we will go over parcel splits, parcel combinations, and redrawing parcels. If there is something that isn't making sense or you would like more information on, we invite you to post a question in our Q&A tab that you can access in the Teams toolbar above. From there, you can submit a question in the side discussion bar. After we are done here today, you will receive an email that will have 2 things. First is a survey link where we ask that you provide feedback on how we did here today. On that survey will also be a section where you can request more in-depth training on some features we may not have time to cover in today's session. If you would like more information, please leave a brief description of what you would like to review so we can have the appropriate team member reach out to you. The second thing to watch for in that email will be a link to a recording of today's session. We've had some users unable to access the link in the past, so we want to be sure that you know the link will also be available on our website webinar registration page to access at any time, bookmark and review at your own pace, or use as a tool when training new employees. Now I'll turn the session over to Jason. Jason is a GIS consultant and customer service tech with over 20 years of experience in land information and utility work. Take it away, Jason.
Hello, everybody. And for those of you, welcome to parcel editing, parcel training. And if you've been to some of the previous ones, welcome back. And this is the third one I've done. So hopefully you're not getting sick of listening to me. But we'll kind of go over everything, or at least most of it to do with parcels. And then, the questions we can't get to today, or I guess you'd say very specific questions. Feel free to reach out to me individually, and we can have conversation, on the phone, do a remote session, whatever we need. But so we will get started here, and I'm going to bring up my map and kind of go over a few things to start with. Kind of a few little heads up things before we start is that kind of working with parcels, depending on which state you're in, there are going to be some differences between, the state. Indiana has an 18-digit state parcel number. South Carolina kind of uses a TMS number. Illinois has another number, but as long as everything's in line, we can work with it. But a few different, little things here and there. But we will kind of point over some of those, or kind of go over them as we get to them while working with the map, and kind of a few different ways to do things. As many of you know who have worked with me before, I probably said it then, I'll say it again now, is that most of the things on the map, there are multiple ways to do it. It kind of depends on which technique or style you prefer, but you're going to end up with the same results. So the first thing we're going to kind of go over is the deed. We have a deed and a survey, and I'll just bring this up on the screen here. And this is just a basic deed. And right below it, I'll scan down. This is the survey. You may have one or the other or both. Both of them say exactly the same thing. It's just kind of a different way of presenting the information. But the first thing to keep in mind with working with a deed or a survey is like right here, you can see where it says POB. That's the point of beginning. And that's where everything starts. A lot of times finding the point of beginning can be kind of one of the more tricky parts or more difficult parts, just making sure you're getting everything into the right location. And we will go over that. And there, yeah, and again, depending on which state you're in, it can be a little different getting to it. Whereas Indiana and Illinois, some of the other states, they do have sections, which are essentially a 1 mile by 1 mile grid that, kind of everything is based off of section corners. Like where are the corners? And, a lot of the deeds will start in one of those corners and give you a few calls that get you to your point of beginning. Whereas South Carolina, it may use one of the corners of an existing parcel. It may use an intersection of two roads and then give you a couple calls to get to your point of beginning. But we'll kind of get going now with kind of the different tools to be used while working with the parcels. First thing we're going to do is opening our editing tools. So I'll do the tools, show map editing tools, which brings up our editing toolbar. And the tools that we're generally going to use are going to be right here, the draw tool, the draw area tool, move, and then up here, I've got it right here, the parcel tool. And the one I use quite a bit is delete vertexes or vertices, however you prefer to say it. So with those tools, you can do about anything you need to do with parcels. So with the draw tool, that one is going to be kind of primarily used with tracing it out initially, kind of making sure that the deed or the survey traces out, is in the right location. It closes, everything looks good, and you will use the draw tool for that. With the move tool, that will be once you have traced it out, have everything kind of in there, and you may need to adjust existing parcels to your trace line to make sure everything is snapped together. And when I say snap together, that is one of the crucial points. I will try to emphasize that quite a bit as part of the cleanup before you actually put the parcel in is, making sure everything is snapped together. And the move tool, you can move vertexes, pull them together. You may have to, as we covered like in the editing training, use the move tool, hover over a line where you need a vertex and hit V to add one, and then you can snap them together. But making sure that everything is snapped is fairly critical. So the next is we have the parcel tool. And like right here, I'll just click on this so we can see what it does. And of course, I'm on the wrong layer here. So let me set the parcel layer for editing so that I can use this tool. Set that as my current layer. So whenever I hit the parcel tool, I do have a few options here, and we can put in a new parcel split, we can redraw a parcel, or we can combine two parcels. And those are the kind of the main ones that are going to be used. With the draw new parcel split, which we'll go over, that allows you to trace out a new parcel, kind of like basically tracing your trace, and it will use the with Indiana, it will use the existing parcel number and try to assign the next available split number. And in, for example, South Carolina, being that they don't have the 18-digit kind of state number, a majority of the time they may not use this particular tool to put in a new split or cutout. They will simply hit new feature and type in the new number they want and use draw area. Both kind of like two different ways to do exactly the same thing. And again, we will go over that. Redrawing a parcel simply allows you to choose a parcel that is already on the map, and then we can hit OK. And like if we hit OK here, it brings up all of the parcels. We choose the one that we want to redraw, hit OK. It takes us back out to the map, and we can, at that point, redraw it and put it, and it will take the existing parcel as drawn, remove it, and put it back in as you draw it. The next one on the list is the combine two parcels. This one simply allows you to choose two different parcels from basically the index and combine them into one. It will ask you the first time which parcel you are going to which one you want to keep, and then you hit OK, and then the second time it will say which one do you want to combine into it, and then it combines them. You can only do two parcels at a time with that tool. So if you run into an area where maybe there's 8 parcels, we'll go over that a little bit later on, but there is a way to essentially not use the combine tool, but kind of do it all at once using the editing tools. It thinks I just finished one. I'll just hit OK. So next up is the delete vertex tool. This tool is used when, like, for example, if I'll just zoom into a random spot here and hit S as in Sam to turn on my vertexes. If we're in an area where, you just have too many, or we have a line out here we're going to snap to and we don't need them all, we can simply hit delete vertex, and it just says delete verts on your cursor now. If we drag a window over, like left click and hold, and it will remove that vertex. That can come in handy when, here, I'll undo that just to put that back. That comes in really handy when working with parcels. If you're working in an area, maybe along a river or a curved road where, as the line curves along, if you hit S, there's like 11 million billion thousand vertexes. And yeah, and you don't want to have to snap, you don't have to click on every single one of them. You can, maybe thin those out a little bit, delete a few of them so you don't have as much to click on. But it also comes in handy when kind of with the cleanup portion of everything. So as I said, we have the deed and the survey. And what I'm going to do here is kind of go through the steps to actually put this onto the map. So the survey that we have, and I'll pull this back up, and I'll just kind of slide this up into the corner. grab the map. Just kind of pull that over just so that we can see everything. So from here, as I mentioned, and I'm just going to go to max view and to start off with everything just from scratch, going through this deed. And this is going to be kind of a setup for Indiana, but it tells us right here that this is part of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 31, township 7, range 8. So we can, simply look that up by going to index, choose my sections, search, and 178. There's our section, locate. This is the section we're working in. So now it tells us commencing at a Harrison marker at the northeast corner of the southeast quarter. When working with the surveys like this and the deeds, in a lot of cases like this, it is kind of easier to read this portion of it backwards. So whereas it says commencing at the northeast corner of the southeast quarter, the easiest thing to do is find the southeast quarter, then go to the northeast quarter, because you will get some deeds that say commencing at the northeast corner of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, and they just really narrow it down. Yeah, you kind of have to know where the end of it is before and then work backwards to get to that corner. So in this case, we would go to the southeast quarter, which is down here, and we want the northeast corner, which would be right in here. So if we kind of split this into quarters, this would be the northeast corner of the southeast quarter. So we know we're going to be right in here. So now I'll just zoom in. And here, I'm going to hit clear to get rid of all those marks. So that is our starting point right here, that corner. So if we come back here, it says then south 89. So this is where we want to start drawing. So with the drawing, it's like I always kind of work with a trace layer because we have found our spot and we want to work with the trace layer just as kind of a construction layer. So I'm going to, I kind of created one previously. And if you haven't created one of those, it's just layer settings, add layer, create new layer, basic layer, type in whatever you want it to be called. A lot of times like if it was going to be me, I might put JSON trace, hit OK a couple times, and it'll put it right at the bottom of your layer settings. Now I created one here just for training purposes. So I'll close. So we have our training trace layer, and we want to make that our current layer. Now I do have a feature in there called trace, but if you just created the layer, you want to hit new feature, choose, just call it trace or line or construction line, whatever you want. Being that this is just a kind of a construction layer, as long as you know what it is, that's fine, because nobody else is going to see it. So we've got this here. So now we are ready to start going through this deed and tracing it out. So I'm going to hit draw, select the draw tool, get the crosshairs, and we know that, this spot right in the middle of the road is our starting point. This is the corner right there. So I'm going to just left click and kind of start my draw, but I want to be sure to keep the cursor on the point that I started. So like right here, I want to hover over that point that I clicked, and you see like the little box pop up. That means that my cursor is in the right spot, or is in the spot that I clicked. So as long as I have that little box there on my keyboard, I'm going to hit D. Kind of D as in David. And when I hit that, that brings up the bearing and distance tool. This is where we can enter all of this information to draw this parcel out. And if we are using the survey and not the deed, it would be exactly the same thing. We know that, from our point of beginning, and most of these as well, I think trying to fit it onto this page here for it so that I could use it as an example, I did have to cut off a line over here that had the first line. But yeah, you would essentially follow these the same way that you follow this. They're going to be the same. So we'll just kind of come up here and, this is our northeast corner. So now it says south 89 degrees, 18 minutes, 40 seconds. So I'll just click in here for the north-south. I'm going to hit south, just an S, and it's going to highlight this, but we don't have to tab over or anything. We can just start typing, and it's going to jump to each individual one. So we want 89, 1840, and then it's west, so just a W, and 600 feet. So I'll just put 600 and enter. As you see over here to the side, it did draw in the line. So now we just kind of, and this says as well that this is the point of beginning. So the first column, POB, we got point. I can just click in here, and I'm going to hit X here to move that X down, saying that this is actually my point of beginning. And you can see how the line, instead of being solid, is now kind of dashed or dotted, which means that with the final results of what we put in here, it's not going to actually draw that line out. It's using it as a reference, but it's not actually drawing it. So we will just continue on with the remainder of it. So it's going to be south 89, 1840, west for 20302. So it drew that line in, and we'll just continue along the county road, said north line. Then we'll go south 1140, east for 225, and then we'll go north 89, 1840, east, and then the last call there, north. Oop, forgot the first one. 225. As you see, you can see how it came along. We hit point of beginning, dashed this one out, but then it drew the rest of them in. As long as they look pretty close up here, we can kind of say, oh, we're in good shape. There may be times that, the blue point of beginning and the end of the line that we're drawing, like it may be down here, and they're way far apart. That means that there's something wrong we may have typed something in wrong. One of the, north or south or east or west, maybe it was backwards in the deed, or we typed it in wrong again. But before hitting OK to complete or to finish, we would want to double check all of these if they didn't kind of look like they close, if they didn't come back to the beginning. And then another piece while I'm here is just below where it says label dimensions. And like right now, mine says label dimensions 20 feet. If you are putting dimensions on the map, like you can see a few of them down here, like, where it says, like 225 feet over here. If those are getting placed on the map on a dimensions layer, this is where you can kind of set that up. So like if it was unchecked, it's not going to put the dimensions on the map. But if we check this, it says, what label height do we want? And I think for this particular map, I think normally it's like 15 feet. So I'll hit OK. Then it says, what layer do we want to put the dimension on? And, for this purpose, I may just put on my training trace layer just so that we can see this. Hit OK. So now we see it is checked. Yes, we're going to label dimensions. I want them at 15 feet and I want them on the training trace layer. And once you've set that up, it does kind of stay. So you don't have to do that again, unless you want it switched to be either a different size or to go to a different layer. So from here, I'll just go ahead and I'll hit OK. And it put it right out on the map. If there is a gap between the end and beginning, it will notify you. If you have a gap that's like, it may say like 0.2 of a foot, that's fine. That's like, just an inch or two or a few inches off. That is very acceptable. If you have a gap of, 100 feet, that would be a problem. Yeah, go ahead and draw it. But then at that point, we would need to go back and look at the deed or the survey to kind of find out, did I miss a call? Was one of them wrong, pointing in the wrong direction? Yeah, just that would be a problem. But hopefully a majority of the time, you would just kind of get a either no gap like this one did, or a very minimal. So, but then once it's drawn, I will just kind of right click to finish the draw, and then right click again to clear my cursor. So as we see, I'll put my trace line in there. I'll left click and hold and zoom in, and it put in the trace line with the dimensions that I typed in. So we can see here that, it put it right next to the parcel 10. And if I come over here and just pan down, we can see that, yeah, they do look the same. And this dashed line is another parcel line kind of on the survey. So we can see it's, doesn't meet the corner. It's kind of up and above. Ours matches up just like that. So we're looking good so far. This is what gets us to the point that I mentioned earlier, the critical or the very crucial point is the cleanup, kind of making sure things are snapped together, making sure that we are ready to put in the parcel. We want to make sure everything is ready before we actually do it, because if things aren't snapped together, we can run into some issues, which I will kind of point out some. So at this point, we could zoom in, and we can see that they don't quite match up along this line, and we do want them to. These do need to be snapped together. And a lot of times, like, I'm just going to hit number 1 on my keyboard to turn the photography on. But we can see we don't really have any references here. But, this particular, this deed here is drawn correctly. So we have the option, because these two lines are, I'll use the measure tool, 1 foot off. So we basically just need to snap these together so that everything is everything is ready. Everything is cleaned up. So in a case like this, what I would probably do is, because this existing parcel looks fine, is just kind of come in here. I may zoom in pretty close, hit move, select this line, right click, and just kind of just drag that line over. So that now I basically moved it 1 foot. And it could have been that, when I picked the spot over here on the corner, my starting point, I may have been slightly off. And so just moving it like a foot or 6 inches, or, just kind of tweaking it a little bit, is fine. That is, not going to cause any major issues. And for those of you who have talked to me, or probably anybody that does parcels, yeah, the reason we can kind of tweak it a little bit just to make everything fit and everything is that, yeah, when we kind of stress this kind of something, that the map is kind of what we always say is a visual representation of the deed and survey. It is not a legal document, where as the actual deed and survey are legal documents. So in that case, if there is, something majorly wrong and everything, the map itself, I would just say again, is not a legal document. If, you run into a situation where, maybe it turns into like a land dispute, or, somebody is, disputing how it's drawn, or anything like that. Yeah, I would always kind of suggest to basically get it resurveyed. Just get a new survey done, because that is the kind of the legal, the end all be all. That's the end of it. however the surveyor, goes out and resurveys it, that's what I would suggest. But so like in this case, just sliding it just a foot over or so, no big deal. So now that these are really close, and because you can kind of see as you look at this line, you can see the orange and blue kind of mixed together there. But if we hit move, hover over that vertex right there, get the little box, hit V on our keyboard, and I usually just kind of roll my scroll wheel, and then we'll come down here, hit V, roll the scroll wheel, come up to this one, move, so now, let's see, these are snapped together. You see before, like if I do like an undo here, I could grab this corner, and the trace line that's blue does not move with the parcel. And I snapped those together, and that one I kind of undid it, so those aren't snapped together. But now if we hover and hit V again, they are snapped together. And I'll redo this one up here. So now that we have everything snapped together, everything's in, good working shape, it's ready to go. This is where we are now officially ready to put the parcel in. So this is where, depending on kind of, I guess, which technique or style you're going to do or working with, this is where you would choose that. So for this one, I will go ahead and choose the parcel tool. So we will switch our current layer to parcels, select the parcel tool, and we want to do a new split. So I'll hit OK. It says, do you want to locate an existing parcel before editing? No, we already know where we're at, so I'll just click no. So as you see, it kind of turned on all the snap points so that we can see them. So now we essentially just trace our trace. So I'll kind of come here, left click, all the way around, right click to finish. It says, are there any more areas to add or islands? In this case, there are not. Like one of the, like another area or an island or anything like that. That may be if maybe this particular parcel carried across the road, like across the right of way here. If we hit yes, we could at that point trace up here, and it would make one parcel that was in two different areas across the road. But for us here, now this is all we need. So I'll just hit no. So this is where it pulls up kind of the parcel form. The I'll slide this to the side here. You can see the parcel that we're cutting out of here is listed as 11.2. So the next available is 11.3. So that's what it wants to assign it. So if that's not the number you want to use, if you already decide, I want it to be 11.9, or I want it to be, a whole new parcel altogether. Just, change the parent parcel number here with a split number of 0, or change this to 8 or 9, just whichever number you wanted to use, and then hit OK. And now it wants us to place a label. And if, we can kind of use the scroll wheel to resize, and it's the size of the label is listed right down here at the bottom. So like, there's a 100-foot label, all the way down to a 10-foot label. If you place manual labels on parcels, this is where you would do it. Pick, kind of the standard size or the normal size that you always use, and left click. If you use auto labels, which these are auto labels here for the different ones, in that case, you wouldn't want to place a manual label, but you just want the auto label out there. So we would just right click to skip this. So I'll just right click. It says, do you want to make any manual adjustments to the property lines? We did all of this beforehand by using the trace layer and doing all the cleanup then. So in this case, we don't want to make any manual adjustments, so I'll just hit no. And it kind of makes some adjustments there, and we have our parcel. 11.3 came out of 11.2. You see how it cut it all out. And at this point, as far as the parcel goes, we're done. Now, if you are working with dimensions, this is where, we may hit move, drag these into the right location. And then from here, we could, maybe double click one, hit the wrench, move this feature to another layer, move it to the dimensions layer. Or, once you've kind of moved them all where you want them, the other option with the dimensions is look up, list features within an area, draw a boundary. It says, what layer do you want to search? We want to search trace because those are all on the trace layer. Basically, just quickly loop around them. And from here, we could, select all 4, right click, move these features to another layer. I don't have it locked for editing right now, but we would just choose dimensions and hit OK. I'll just hit cancel for now. But it would, at that point, move all of these dimensions to the dimension layer from the trace layer. And at that point, again, we're done. So with that being said, whereas I kind of talked a little bit about the cleanup portion and how it can be kind of a little bit critical. What I meant by that is if we were going to put in another parcel here, maybe there's going to be another one cut out right here. And, maybe I'll just, here, we'll just hit move, grab the trace from previously, and we'll just snap it right in there. So we'll just say that we traced out another one. and it's right here now. Well, we would come in here, move, kind of get everything snapped together, and see we've got an extra vertex right there. So we would hit delete verts, remove that one. Come up here, move, V. So that's all snapped together. If I went in and just put the parcel in now, everything looks good. But see, like I can hit S's and Sam, and like say, oh, we've got a vertex there, vertex there. It all looks pretty good. So if we went in and zoomed in on that corner, we can see how these aren't quite together. Like, and I may even pull that down a little further. But from out here, again, still looks pretty good. But if we did another parcel, and like in this case, I may just use the other technique. So like we did 11.2s here. This is 11.3. Next one, as I know, is going to be 11.4. So I could just, like, I'll just click on this just so I can see this number. But we'll just do do training parcels as our current layer. Then new feature, which brings up a blank parcel. And from here, I'll just do 49, 31, 400, 11. I'll do 004 for the split number. And then hit OK. So now we have our new parcel. And I'll just do a refresh to get rid of those highlight lines. But now if I hit draw area, just use the other technique as instead of using the parcel tool. And I'll hit S's and Sam's so I can see the. So if I come in here and we're just going to hit all four corners. Do you want to, it says there are one or more layers, do you want to remove the overlapping portion? Yes, I do. So now we have 11.4. So we have 10, 11.3, 11.4. But if we click on 11.2, because we didn't snap this, we have this little extra line up here. And that is simply because we didn't snap those together. And, and this is a very, very common issue to run into. Also very easy to fix. So what we would do here is we could, after we grab this and pull this up, hover, hit V to snap those together. So now everything is snapped together, but we still have, I say what we always refer to as like this parcel has a little tail on it, like an extra line. We could select like 11.2. We could go up to the parcel tool and hit redraw, choose this parcel number, which would then give us crosshairs, and we could, and like all the snap points, at that point we would just retrace the whole parcel and that line would be gone. That would fix it. The other way is using delete verts and move. This is probably the way that I do it the most. I'll just hit move. And select move, right click, just basically pull this parcel out of the way. Get it so that it's not connected anymore. Delete vert. Delete both of those vertexes, which pulls the line all the way back. Then hit move. Slide it back into position. And that's fixed. And as far as, kind of cleaning those up like that, that's all there is to it. Now that kind of a couple easy examples there. They don't always work out that easy. Again, if you run into any that are crazy and hard, by all means, give me a call. Yeah, I would be more than happy to do a remote session with you. So the other kind of option on the parcel tool is the combine parcels. So from here, we'll just use these two as an example. We have kind of parcel 9 and parcel 8.1. If these were both going to be getting combined together, we could just make sure that parcel training is, or training parcels, excuse me, read that backwards, is our current layer. Kind of select our parcel tool, combine two parcels. Now it's going to say, on training parcels, it says right here, select the first parcel, the one that will remain. So the one that we're keeping. So if I just kind of click in here, well, actually, let me click in there so that I can see this number. Now we'll combine. So I can see there, so it's going to be 40, 09, 31, 400, 009, and this is the parcel right here. So from here, it's like we've got it highlighted, and I'll just hit OK. So choose the second one, the one that's going to be added to the first, and it should kind of have its cursor right in the one that you selected the first time. And since these numbers are right next to each other, 8.1 is just above it. So I'll just select this one and hit OK. So now you can see that it highlights the one that you're going to keep in red and the one that's getting combined in blue. And it's just saying, does this look right? Do you want me to continue? It's like, yep, that looks right. I'll say yes. And now it says, just say done. So I'll just do a redraw. Oh, finished. And now a redraw. So as we see now, there's no line here. It's just one parcel, and it is all now parcel 9. Now, you can do just two parcels like that. That gets combined one into the other. If you do run into an area where maybe like all three of these up here were going to be combined, there, again, you can use the combine tool from the parcel tool. If, for example, 3 was going to be the parcel that remains and 4.1 and 2.1 were getting combined into it, what you would do then is, if you want to use the combine tool, is use parcel 3 is the one you're going to keep, combine 4.1 into 3, then run it again and combine 2.1 into 3. So you basically you'd run it twice. You could also, in a case like this where they're right here, everything is straight lines, it's pretty straightforward, is kind of double click 4.1 because we know that it's going to be combined in, hit the wrench, delete this feature. Are you sure you want to delete it? Yep. Pick this one. Delete this feature. Are you sure? Yes. So now we have two gaps, just two holes, and our parcel that we want to keep is left behind. Just hit move, V, pull the line up, V, pull the line down. Do the same thing on the other side, and we're done. So that's like, so if you have to do multiples, you can kind of get into the editing side of it a little more, or you could just run the combine tool multiple times. It's, again, you end up with exactly the same results. It just kind of comes down to which technique you prefer. So kind of now we've gone through kind of I guess you'd say the main portions of it, kind of a few common issues that we run into, or that, myself or Leslie get calls about when working with parcels, is the kind of some of the main ones are the little, what we call tails, the little extra lines, or it could be one where, we click on a parcel over here and one little line here, like a little piece highlights there. And it's, it could be that, multiple splits were put in over the years or over a matter of time. And somehow, maybe because there was a vertex here, didn't get snapped together right, one little line that's off of this kind of parent parcel or so got left behind. It's hard to grab that line. It's a lot of times it won't let you just grab this because maybe they're all snapped together. But kind of like what I did to fix the little tail up here, what I would do here is simply hit move, select this parcel, right click, left click, hold, pull it to the side. Grab this parcel, right click, left click, hold, pull it to the side, which would leave this line behind. At that point, we could hit, delete, drag a window over this, delete that line, and at that point, move, hold these parcels back to their location. Like I said, and that's just kind of a little highlight line I put out there. So I'll hit clear and we would be kind of finished. That right there may take a little practice to do. Once you've done that, a bazillion times, it gets easier to kind of pull those all apart and everything. But if you do have questions on that, let me know. Because we can definitely log in, remote in, and help. Another common question is sometimes you may get a parcel that if we double click on it, like we have kind of the legal acreage versus like a lot of parcel layers may have calculated acreage. Like this says 2.43 acres, and that is as drawn on the map. So like if I grabbed this corner and pulled it way down, now it says 5.18 acres. So this is calculating from the map. A lot of times that number differs slightly from what the legal acreage says. And so like up here, I'll just pick on one there. This parcel says it's 2.52 acres as drawn. The legal acreage is 2.76. A lot of that comes from the fact that the parcels are only drawn to the right of way. So you're kind of, from a legal standpoint, and as you like, and you can even see in the survey over here where the legal is drawn to the center line of the road. But here we only drew it to the right of way. So this acreage right here is getting trimmed off of the calculated acres, like the as drawn. But again, like when it really comes down to it, it's drawn as 2.5 acres essentially, but legally it's 2 3/4. So you're kind of losing that little bit just as drawn. And that is kind of a common question that we get over, why doesn't the legal and the calculated, why don't they match each other? Then another one, where as I mentioned right-of-ways, if, for example, a road was going in here, like, and I'll just kind of hold my cursor down or the scroll wheel, say there was going to be a road here. And, this is all one parcel. They're like, well, I need to put the right of way in because it's going to be a new county road. How do I put this right of way in? So what I would do is switch back to my trace, basically just kind of trace where the new road is going to be. So we have that, and then I'll hit clear to get rid of the red line I put out there. But if I was going to say this, I would say, well, what's the, width of the road? And from here, I would say, okay, well, there's the center line of our new road that's going to go in. Using the trace tool, I'm going to run an offset tool. Because it's a 40-foot right-of-way, I'm going to select 20 feet from the center line. So I'll left click to select my line, right click, then left click to that side, then do the same thing there. So now I have a 40-foot right-of-way for a new road. So in order to get the right-of-way cut in, I could, snap those together and then start adding vertexes and just pulling this down. So I end up with the gap here. But I could also switch it to parcels, new feature, and basically make a dummy parcel, like just make one up. And I will just, I'll just give it all 9s. Hit OK. And saying, oh, I've already done this at some point. Add a duplicate. So then I'll just hit draw area and trace my trace. And I'll just do this real fast because I know we are just about out of time. But if I just buzz through this, right click to finish, it says, yeah, we have overlapping areas. Do you want to remove the overlapping portion? Yes, I do. So that put in my 99999 parcel. Then I would just double click, select that parcel. So there it is. Wrench, delete this feature. And then I could just delete my trace lines. And I'm left behind with a right-of-way, kind of cut out for a new road. And so for anything that, whereas you need it cut out, that can be used. And then the last thing really quickly is we get calls periodically about, hey, I click on this and my legal acreage down here, my legal acreage says 2.76, but the calculated says 0.00. And they're like, why is that? If you come up with that, that means that that particular parcel was drawn as a line and not an area. So, if you click on it, it's going to highlight just like this, but there's actually nothing there. It's just the line. So you could basically, make that line, like that parcel, your current feature, choose draw area, retrace it, and then your acreage would be there. And then again, kind of lastly, anything that I went over that you have questions on or didn't sound right or just have additional questions, feel free to let me know. Contact me anytime. I'd be happy to help. And at that point, I think I will turn it back over to you, Leslie, because we are about out of time.
And always remember to save your work.
Yes.
Figured I'd add that in there. But thank you, Jason, for going over that valuable information to help our users become more familiar with features WTH has to offer with our GIS platforms. If you found today's session to be helpful and would like to know more, feel free to hop on our website, WTHGIS.com, and register for the last webinar we have to offer. Just a friendly reminder to watch for that email with the survey link and a recording of what we learned here in today's session. Any input and feedback is greatly appreciated. You can also review the recording on our website by navigating back to the registration page, where it will soon be posted. If for some reason after time your company's firewall doesn't seem to allow the email to come through, feel free to reach out to WTH staff member and we can send you the links directly. Thank you from your friends here at WTH Technology.